Democrats are doing enough to combat what the Republicans are trying to do to get that just enough with the in part of the black church, like you said. Like, my personal opinion is we have a deep sense of values within the black church that directly correlate to the Democratic platform. But I don't know if we are actually conveying that message in the mega churches that have sprung up.
Well, I think, again, the mega churches, the mega churches are not always about politics and service. I should say some. I'm not trying to, it's also about cult of personality, sort of wealth building, that sort of thing. And so, the parties are, both parties, again, as I alluded to with regard to your question, both parties understand that churchgoers tend to vote at higher proportions than many other groups, subsets of American voters. So, I think both parties are going to consistently seek to go after that. And I think your point with regard to the Democratic platform and sort of some of this wider range of moral issues, if we define morality narrowly, then the Republicans are going to feel that they have the whole range of things. But if we look at morality more holistically, I think that the Democrats can compete all over the country. It's not going to be easy, but you've heard, I'm sure, of these conservatives around the country, evangelical Christians, who are siding with the environmentalists on environmental issues. Well, I think that sort of thing can happen in other parts of the country on other issues.
To what extent do you think the growing divide between lower income African Americans and middle income African Americans and the increasing divide? I mean, I noticed that a lot of the issues that you talked about that you thought were impacting the black vote tended to be disproportionate for lower income African Americans. So I'm wondering to what extent you think that increasing gap provides an opportunity for either party to just sort of pick off the top.
Yeah, for a long time I thought that gap was going to be significant, and those at the upper income echelons of African Americans would ultimately find their way in the Republican Party. But then there was the November elections, in which Michael Steele in Maryland, for example, did poorly in his home county. In fact, he lost by an enormous number of votes in his own county, primarily among wealthier African-American voters. And so I think that as long as African-American voters at that income range sort of, remember their history, I think the Republicans are going to struggle with those voters. But, as long as, and that's particularly important. We talk a lot about how past is prologue and how you have to remember your history in order to not repeat mistakes and things of that nature. So I think from that perspective, there's not likely to be a significant split, although the country is, divided in terms of class as much so, if not more so, than race.
I'll ask another question. What do you think of Walter Mosley's argument in Life Out of Context that black people actually remove themselves from both parties and, do a sort of independent campaign to actually make ourselves need to be courted by both parties? And do you think that could actually happen with the historical ties that we have to liberals and to Democrats?
Well, I think it's a very interesting argument, but it's politically naive. We don't do our elections that way. We do our elections through parties, and unfortunately, there are only two choices. We can seek to create a third party, and that's fine, but you can make some changes marginally in certain states, perhaps. But to impact things nationally, you need a national apparatus, and for that reason, I think it's not likely to work.
Would anyone like to ask a final question? I was going to say, other white people could ask questions too. It's okay. Don't feel like you just have to listen, although we appreciate it.
What do you think of Republicans pointing minorities to, very visible posts, Condoleezza Rice, Powell, but even Mel Martinez recently as RNC chair, which is purely symbolic, and they say, he's not actually running it, he's just there, for the outreach efforts. That's what they say.
Right, exactly. They're like, no, don't worry, he's just running it.
What do you think of those efforts? And every black Republican elected official speaking at the convention.
I'm going to use a line from my colleague Jerry Mayer, who said that the upper echelon of appointments to the president's cabinet look like America, but the rest of his appointments look like the Republican Party. and I think that's really true. When you look at Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Alphonso Jackson, Roderick Page, and so on and so forth, you say, wow, this is important, and it really is. It is a powerful signal and symbol. However, when you look at the 2000 election and the 2004 election, all those appointments and all this other stuff got the president 2 extra points in the black community, which tells me something that many people already know, and that is African Americans want more than just symbolism. And so I think that the other part of it is you have to build on that. So it's great symbolically, it looks good, but symbolism isn't enough. You have to go to some sort of policies.
Wonderful. All right. Michael Fauntroy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Michael Fauntroy teaches public policy at George Mason University. For more information about Michael Fauntroy and his book Republicans and the Black Vote, visit michaelfauntroy.com.